I know that, especially looking at the smaller communities, it's a nice thing where business owners may get to know the officers and people see them, and a little bit back to the old days, if I may say so. So, next on the agenda. Oh, sorry, Adam. Sorry, Member Veer.
Yeah, sorry, I'm kind of sneaking in here at the end. I wasn't sure when my turn was. So I have just one question there about the report. So I get a lot of complaints, maybe you can call them that, or concerns, I guess, from just downtown Simcoe residents, especially in the vicinity of the warming center and the arena and things. And fair enough, there's people down there that, and I understand that OPP can't do a whole lot. I'm not asking you to do, but I want to know if you could just put a finer point on what does constitute a situation when there's mental health concerns or drugs or other crime down there. Where's the breaking point, I guess, or I don't know what the tipping point, not breaking point, tipping point where, okay, that is something that the OPP will act upon or escalate that. And you know, I understand that a crime has to be committed before the OPP can do things, and I understand that part, but I'm wondering, what about when there's a perception of danger and risk? Is that a call that you'll respond to? I'm just trying to get a sense of this, because when I get these, I would like to have something more than just, we'll call the OPP and they'll deal with it, and then of course the response is they don't do anything. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of, can you help me, and then I can help the public understand the approach.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a very very interesting question as well. And I know even with our officers, we're always trying to look at just different angles of approach and how to kind of deal with this. And I totally understand. I know exactly where you're coming from. Personally, I think this is again where foot patrol and especially even like bicycle patrol will have very, very large impact. And again, it kind of works twofold. It's not only are they, you just see more. When you're walking around, you hear your sensory things are all very heightened. You're hearing things, maybe if they're shouting, if somebody's in crisis, through mental health or substance abuse or whatever, you're going to be able to respond more quickly, address the situation more efficiently and properly, really, to do that, as opposed to being in your cruiser and you know, I'm trying to get the officers, again, like Madam Chair mentioned, a little bit more of an old school return back to the basics, where I was expected back in the day, like we did foot patrols, and they were very impactful. It also kind of goes twofold, because you're able to find committing criminal offenses, but you're able to deal with things very hands-on very quickly. But then the other part is just the presence. And you know, a presence equates to a feeling of safety, of feeling safe. And I think the more even people in Simcoe in the downtown areas and that see more officers walking around, there's going to be that perception and that feeling of well, I know things are, but I feel safe. I know there's officers around here right now.
Sorry, one quick follow-up on that. So when a strategy is, let's say, formed or implemented, is that driven by calls and statistics, or just the general sort of, or a combination of, I guess, the feel of the situation? Like, how does the OPP decide, yeah, okay, we need to patrol more there, or we need to implement this different kind of patrol, or like what factors from the public, I guess, direct that or affect that decision?
And you're absolutely right. I would say primarily it's a collaboration. It's a multitude of different factors. Yes, we're very in tune and very aligned with calls for service. So if a certain area, individual or whomever or whatever, we're seeing a lot of calls for service to that area. So we look at our analytics and metrics, then we will kind of like the motor vehicle collision strategy too. So we did a deep dive. It's all kind of a tiered approach here. So one of the things was looking at we looked at the analytics. So we're using our our analytics and metrics better. So we're using that to be able to specifically target the areas where we're seeing the most issue. Again, back in the day, we're getting better at that. Back in the day, it would be more just kind of driving around and, well, maybe I'll do radar here, maybe I'll do that. And now we're just trying to be way more efficient with placing our officers where they need to be doing that. So we use that. In saying that, though, we also rely heavily on the community and the public to share with us information and tell us things, report things, whether it's through Crime Stoppers or even reporting calls for service or approaching our officers and coming up and making us aware of things. And then all of that, based on that, will kind of form together and where we respond and how we deal with stuff.
Thank you so much, Inspector. I appreciate it.
Member Van den Riche.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. Just to continue on that, we get a lot of complaints, and I myself have an issue. It's timing. What happens is they're gathering at the entry because of the time. They're out of the church when they have to, in the morning they have to get out by a certain time. Okay, so then there's a gap between that before the library opens for them, say in the winter in the warming shelter. So what they do is they gather in that corner there where the door is, and literally I've had to step over people to get through the doors. It's all about timing. Do you take that into account when you set up the time beat when they go out and do their rounds and things like that? Because if that could be coordinated, it's likewise with the arena when people, when one situation is closed, well, they look for a shelter, correct? So that one's open up to the period of time when I need to go from here to there. And I think they know the areas they can go to, the most unfortunate. And, but can that be coordinated a bit better so that we know that when I come in at 9:30 and knowing that there's, and they told me, well, I said, go to the library, and they said, no, because it's not open till 10. Mm-hmm. So they know. Is there a possibility of timing when you do the beat around the block sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and that's the thing too. That's always getting, you know, trying to improve, fine-tune things with listening and communication with the county and with, you know, our community partners as well, like just to kind of make us aware. And we're, even with our community engagement officers that we have at our detachment, Shauna Polton was kind of looking after that area as well. But we have two new individuals too that are full-time looking in partnership with all of our community stakeholders, and, you know, with the shelters and talking and finding, so they're right on the ground finding out these times. When are people coming? When are they not coming? Again, we're always challenged with, again, and not taking away, but very large county, very large geographic, finite number of officers working, and depending on some days, if it's a heavy call for service time, they may be called elsewhere at that time. It's kind of hit and miss, but we do our best.
Okay, you're welcome. Next on the items for consideration is the item that I added at the beginning of the meeting, and that is the topic of gender-based violence. Recently, I believe it was yesterday, there was My FM brought to the attention of the public that I'm just going to read the kind of the blurb here. Haldeman Norfolk is taking a hard look at gender-based violence in the region following a report from the Haldeman Norfolk Justice for Women review team. The review, led by Chair Amber Wardell, highlights serious concerns over the high and rising rates of gender-based violence and femicide, particularly in rural areas like Haldeman and Norfolk counties. So with that, I just wanted to bring that to the attention of our OPP detachment, and was wondering if there's any cohesive work being done with our local detachment and this group.
Yeah, and absolutely. with our West Region Inclusion Council, for example, I'm a co-chair on that, and gender-based violence, hate crime, we do in the OPP have specific areas, program areas that look and address that situation directly. Again, we're always monitoring it. We're always, when I say we, I mean locally at detachment, but also organizationally. They're always scanning every region in the OPP to see if there's hot spots, areas that need to be addressed. How's the best way to deal with that? Is it through, usually I would suggest it's usually very beneficial through education. Some areas they just need more education on it to make people more aware, more empathetic, and we're able, better way to kind of deal with it. But yes, it's 100% a huge focus of the OPP and trying to, again, be respectful and protective and provide public safety and everything for all members of our society.
Okay, thank you very much. Next on the agenda would be correspondence arising from previous business, which we do not have any. 11 is bylaws, and there's nothing under bylaws. And before I forget, could I have someone to accept the items for consideration? Member Vanden Rishi, seconded by Member Veery. All in favor? And that is carried. So with that, I would like to thank everybody for attending today. I think we had some good communication, and I'm very happy with the statistics that we're getting from our OPP Detachment Board. Our next meeting tentatively is in July. We will be confirming that in the next week or so. And we've got a couple, myself and Member Veery will be attending the OAPSB yearly conference in London the first week of June. So at the next meeting, whether it be July or in September, we will be bringing back some information for that. If there's anything that's really pertinent, we'll make sure it gets out to you ahead of time. So with that, I'd like to a motion for adjournment. Member Cruz, seconded by Member Vanden Rishi. All those in favor? And we are adjourned. Thank you and have a great day.